Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Kami and Shinigami? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. What do you mean? Talk about what? Naruto replied to his tenant. When you took the memories and techniques from your other self, it altered your personality a bit. Didn't you realize there was something different when you were fighting? Kurama asked. Yeah, I did. I seemed more aggressive and bloodthirsty. Naruto replied after a bit of thought. Yeah, that was a cause of the merging. You seem to have taken more than just techniques and memories. You took some of his personality too. As of right now, you seem to have taken his temper and bloodthirst. The problem is that I suspect these traits will grow more prominent as time goes on. How prominent those traits become or if there will be any more of his traits joining you I do not know. I don't think you will be all that affected unless you get angry or someone threatens the things or people you care for. Kurama explained in a serious tone. I see. Well, it doesn't matter all that much I guess. I can still control myself, and if it gets to be a problem I can just seal off those traits with a well-placed Uzumaki seal. Thanks for the heads up though. Naruto thanked with a small smile. In the outside world, Team 7 were on their way back to Konoha after about a full day of partying and celebration of Naruto's accomplishments, though the blonde hero made sure to give Zabuza and Haku credit for holding off his teammates until he could arrive, as well as how Zabuza was the one who actually killed Geto. Anyway, it was a pretty uneventful, even though they could move at regular shinobi speeds. It was when they were approaching the entrance that things got interesting. There, sprinting out of the entrance, was Mizuki, holding a large scroll on his back and an unconscious pink-haired girl in his arm. Once he got a bit closer, the group could tell that the scroll was actually the forbidden scroll of sealing, and the girl was Sakura Haruno, an academy student who failed the exams due to having little to no combat skill. Hey now, where are you going in such a hurry Mizuki-sensei? And with Sakura and the scroll of sealing too? Naruto asked, not moving from his relaxed stance. None of your business brat, now get out of the way. Mizuki yelled as he tried to speed past the group. He worked there was tried. As soon as he tried to pass Naruto, said Blonde stuck his leg out, causing the Chunin to faceplant into the dirt and roll a bit past him, unfortunately, or fortunately if you're Naruto, taking Sakura down with him. Oh no, you tripped. Here let me help you up. Naruto said with a smirk as he walked towards the downed Mizuki. What the hell did you do that for, you bra? Before he could complete that insult, Naruto grabbed his hair and bashed his head into the surprisingly rocky ground. You broke my nose and there his face went again. Stow and again. Fu and again. Choosing not to say anything this time, Mizuki noticed that Naruto had stopped slamming his face into the ground. Tina and there he went again. Naruto, what the hell are you doing? The silver-haired bastard yelled at the blonde genin. Trying to help he guy up, but he keeps wanting to put his head down. I think he's tired or something. Naruto replied, holding Mizuki's head up to show his dazed and bloody face. Well, stop trying to help him. Kakashi demanded, not buying his excuse for a second. Okay, if you say so. Naruto said cheekily as he dropped the Chunin's head, causing him to faceplant once more. Looking down at the Chunin in agony, Naruto decided to take the scroll from his back and strap it onto his own. Naruto, you are under arrest for attacking a fellow Konoha shinobi and for stealing the scroll of sealing. Kakashi said smugly. Does it count as stealing if you steal it from a thief? And if he's a traitor, is he still a Konoha shinobi? Million Ryo questions here. Naruto thought out loud with a hand on his chin in a thoughtful pose. What are you talking about, dope? Sasuke demanded. Kakashi. I'm so glad you're here. Have you seen Mizuki come through Hio? Turning, the group saw Iruka run onto the scene and start asking questions, that is until he saw the person of his interest on the ground, spewing blood from his nose, mouth, and pretty much his entire face. Oh, Iruka-sensei, what do you need with Mizuki-sensei? Naruto asked innocently. He had Sakura-san steal the scroll of sealing so that he could take it and leave, apparently taking Sakura with him. Iruka explained, still wondering what happened to Mizuki and why his favorite student had the forbidden scroll on his back. And how the hell did someone of Sakura-san's caliber stole what is supposed to be the most well-guarded object in this village? Kakashi asked, astounded at the revelation. Apparently Mizuki already had all of it planned out. All she had to do was wait for the council to call a meeting with Hokage-sama and sneak into his office. Then she just found the spot where the scroll was hidden, which Mizuki here told her where it was, and leave through the window. How she got to their meeting spot without anyone spotting her with a giant scroll on her back is beyond me. Iruka finished explaining with a sigh, wondering what could have possessed Sakura to accept this type of mission. How unusual. Sakura isn't one to betray her village just because someone told her to. Kakashi wondered, causing Naruto to deadpan at her. Maybe he promised her that she could tuck Sasuke here if she helped him. Naruto laughed. What happened? They turned towards the new voice to see Sakura waking up from her spot on the ground next to Mizuki. Ah, the sleeping, well not beauty, but I don't know. You're awake. Naruto said before chuckling at himself. You're very funny, dope. Sasuke sarcastically replied. Why thank you. I'll be here all week. Now, Haruno, why did you betray the leaf? Naruto replied just as sarcastically before turning to look at Sakura with a smirk. I didn't betray anyone, baka. Mizuki said that if I got that scroll and gave it to him, I would take your place on Sasuke-kun's team. And you just had to go and ruin it like you do everything else. Why couldn't you just leave everyone alone? I'm sure Sasuke would want me on his team rather than you. Sakura explained before choosing to berate Naruto. I'm not so sure with that loud voice of yours. Sasuke thought while cleaning out his ear with his pinky. Well, what you actually did was steal the scroll of sealing and assist a traitor in taking said scroll out of the village to Kami knows where, effectively letting Konoha's secrets out to its enemies. But I can't really fault you for that, I would have done it for absolutely nothing. Naruto explained before whispering the last part into Sakura's ear with a smirk, causing her to gasp. Now, let's get the traitor in lockup and get Haruno here back to wherever she needs to go. Don't worry Iruka, we're going to the Hokage anyway, so I'll take the scroll to him. Naruto told the man who at least treated him neutrally in the academy at first, before slowly becoming like an older brother. Oh, okay then. I'll take Mizuki to Ibiki and tea and I thank you Naruto, I don't think I would have caught up to him in time. Iruka thanked as he picked up the traitor and used Shunshin to quickly travel to his destination. Sakura, you better come with us to see the Hokage, I'm sure he would like to speak with you. Kakashi suggested, acting like it was him who caught the traitor. After a couple of minutes, Team 7 and Sakura was standing in front of the Hokage as he stared at the scroll on the blonde genin's back. So, you were heading back from your mission and you just ran into Mizuki on your way into the village. You also befriended an A-rank missing nin and his daughter and attacked your teammates, taking the side of these criminals rather than your team. The aged man questioned, already trying to figure a way to get Naruto back under his control. Pretty much. They chose to attack my associates, who I had already made a contract with and were therefore under my protection, so I had no choice but to protect my employees. Naruto explained, covering the fact that he already wanted to attack them and was just hoping for a reason. Well I guess I can't do anything as they were under your clan's protection. But please refrain from attacking any more Konoha shinobi. He said, hoping his friendly attitude would put him off enough for the old man to signal his Anbu to attack. Yeah, I'll think about it. Are we done here, cause I need to go meet up with some people? Naruto asked impatiently. Like anyone would want to meet up with you. Sakura commented quietly. Yeah, unlike you, I actually have a voice that doesn't destroy people's eardrums. Now, goodbye all. And with that, the blonde genin took his leave, making his way to his house. When he finally arrived, he walked in to see Kushina and Makoto were cooking dinner, while Shisui and Madara were both reading, waiting on dinner to be done. He could also hear some ruckus in the back, so he guessed Taka and Shiro were training back there. No one noticed his presence until he coughed into his hand, causing everyone that was inside to look towards the front door to see the trademark grin on Naruto's face. I'm back. That was all he could get out before he heard loud footsteps coming from the hallway leading to the backyard. Before he could react, a white blur glumped him, smashing his face into its chest. After everything slowed down, Naruto was able to discern that the attacker appeared to be Shiro, who was ecstatic that her Naruto was home at last. She knew that he wouldn't even get hurt on his mission, but that didn't stop her from missing him, especially in bed. Why did you take so long? You could have been done with that dumb mission way earlier. She pouted, slightly grinding her crotch against Naruto's in desire. Smirking, Naruto kissed the beauty passionately before setting her feet back on the floor to take in her beauty in. Shiro wore a skin-tight white suit with red swirls covering parts of it, with the most noticeable one encircling her right wrist. She had long snow-white hair that cascaded down her back and reaching just above her knees. She also had dark blood-red eyes that frightened anyone who was on the receiving end of one of her punches. Speaking of her punches, they hurt like hell. She had to wear boxing gloves with seals on them to protect her hand from breaking if she were to put all of her strength into one punch. She was also the wielder of the original branch of Sin, Roots, which allowed her to create a wire of hexagons made from her blood. The fun part was that they could slice through anything, given she put enough effort into her swing, which wasn't difficult given her strength. I'm sorry I made you wait on me, but you know how I feel about the atmosphere when I stop time, and I also made some new allies that will act as spies for me and me alone. He replied with a smile. Cool, anything else exciting happen? Shiro asked, immediately switching personalities to her usual ditzy self. You see, Shiro was experimented on as a child by her adoptive father and from those experiments gained the very first branch of sin, roots. The downside to this, besides the blatant act of betrayal and experimentation, was that her mind created a new personality to help her cope with the distress she was going through. This other personality was dubbed Wretched Egg and used to be the one to go on rampages and killing sprees. Essentially embodying all of Shiro's bad qualities, such as bloodthirst, insanity, and one hell of a temper, while the actual Shiro was left with only her good qualities, loyalty, innocence, playfulness, etc. Once Naruto brought her to this world, however, the two personalities sort of fused, with Shiro staying her usual ditzy self, while in a relaxed place with family and friends, but also bepitical and battle-hardened when she needs to be. Laughing at her curiosity, Naruto replied with a thoughtful look, well, Sasuke unlocked his Sharingan, which is so weak it's actually pathetic. I suppose Kakashi's gonna train him in secret from now on to make sure his Sharingan levels up as fast as possible. I wonder if Sasuke has told anyone that I have the Sharingan too. Naruto explained before wondering the last part to himself quietly, though everyone heard that part too. Anyway, yeah, that happened. Also, the allies I told you about were Uzumaki of the 7 ninja swordsmen and his surrogate daughter, Hakuyuki. Haku even has the ice release Kekkei Genkai, which proves she is of the Yuki clan. Also, I have something to show each of you. Naruto explained before unsealing the Tenko Fox mask from a seal on his wrist. This is the Tenko Fox mask of the Uzumaki clan, taken from a vault under the Kage Tower. This allows the wearer to see into another life through their counterparts' eyes and gain all knowledge and power that they wielded, including bloodlines, jutsu, and even personality traits. It can only be used once per person, and I have already used it. I am not sure it will work for you, Taka and Shiro, due to them not having chakra, but we can try. As for everyone else, can do it if you want but you don't have to, cause there's no telling what the you from the other time is going to be like. Naruto said as he set the mask on the table while everyone stared at it. There was silence until Madara started laughing hysterically. It took a couple of minutes before he calmed down, but when he did he turned to Naruto and said, I don't know which goddess you tucked, but you must have done a pretty goddamn good job if you've got luck like this. And with his bit said, he went back to laughing his head off, this time everyone else joining in with him. Naruto looked down and saw all of his family and friends laughing together and couldn't help but smile a small but heartfelt smile. This was what he had wanted in his youth. This is exactly what he always envisioned a family to look like. Just seeing everyone happy and together made him happier than mere words could ever explain. He was about to join back into the joking and laughing when he sensed someone approaching the compound and from the feeling of their chakra, he could already tell it was a squad of Anbu. Sighing, he went out the front door and to the main gate to see what his senses had already told him. Naruto Uzumaki, you are hereby ordered to come with us. The Hokage and council demand your presence. The lead Anbu said as he went to grab the bars of the gate. Not saying anything, Naruto just watched as the Anbu was engulfed in a sea of intense azure flames, flowing up his hand like it had a mind of its own. The man had no chance to scream before he was turned into a smoldering pile of ash. I would recommend not laying any part yourself onto my property, as any who are not coded into the blood seals around this compound will be killed in a many number of ways. If you do not believe me, then by all means, go right ahead. There are over 500 different ways these seals can kill you, and those are just the ones that are fast and relatively painless. There's this one where the seals release just a bit of Nine Tails chakra into the person's body, effectively corroding the body from the inside out over the span of years. They are also randomly generated so I have no idea what order they will come in. Naruto explained with a wide smile on his face. Okay, Uzumaki-san, we will not touch the gate again. Will you come to the council's chambers? One of the smarter Anbu, a woman this time, asked after an apologetic bow, though it looked restrained. I guess, hold on. He said as he went back inside, effectively angering the Anbu for turning his back to them and making them wait. When he got back inside, he noticed that they were all scrambling away from the windows, assumedly trying to snoop on his conversation. Laughing, Naruto spoke to the group, I have been called before the council. Don't wait up for me for dinner, though I will make sure not to let it drag on too late. Seeing them roll their eyes at the mention of the council, Naruto smiled before leaving again to rendezvous with the Anbu at his gate again. Okay, I'm ready now. Let's go. And with that, Naruto disappeared in a flash of silver, causing the Anbu to growl at having to wait all this time before being left behind. Council chambers. Naruto entered the council chambers to see all of the shinobi clan heads and civilian council members, all sitting in their seats on the sides of the table. At the head of the table sat the Hokage, with his advisors to his immediate left and right, and Danzo at the foot of the table. He also noticed that Kakashi, Sasuke, and Yuki were also here, so he guessed it was about the wave mission. Ah, thank you for joining us, Naruto. We brought you here to discuss your mission to Wave Country. The Hokage said, dropping the kun suffix from his name as he has already lost on that front. I figured as much. Okay, so what do you all want to know? He asked, already bored with this entire meeting. Reigning in his anger at the boy's lack of respect, the Hokage started his interrogation. We have already asked our questions to your teammates here and got pretty much the same story, excluding Yuki here as she was unavailable for the final fight as she was guarding Tazuna and couldn't see through the fog. Do you swear that everything you say here is of the truth and that if you do tell a lie that you will face the consequences? Sure, or you could just have Yamanaka-san here look at my memories. Then there'd be no way for me to lie, but whatever, you do you. He agreed, choosing now to put his hands in his pockets and stare at the Hokage, ready to answer whatever questions they had. Hiruzen, after seeing the clan heads thinking about his suggestion, quickly silenced everyone with a cough before getting back to the interrogation. That wouldn't be necessary. Now, explain, in great detail, the start of the mission to the point when you got inside the village. But Naruto told the true story of his recollection of the mission. Not leaving anything out, especially when Kakashi and Sasuke would screw up, like in the very start of their mission. So, you're telling me that you deliberately left the mission to go on your own self-appointed mission. You realize that this is grounds for expulsion from the shinobi forces and even execution for desertion? Hiruzen asked, smirking evilly behind his folded hands. Oh, well then I guess Kakashi and Sasuke can be executed right beside me for deserting the client as soon as the mission started. And going to Uzumaki was a clan mission, and as of rule number 97 of the Konoha clan laws, if a clan mission is given by the clan head that will directly benefit the clan and will not be a detriment to the village, they are allowed to proceed with that mission to the best of his or her abilities. That law was created at the founding of the village as one of the 100 laws needed to create a stable village. Naruto explained. And who was it who gave you this mission? Kushina. I'll have you know that because she was pronounced dead, she can no longer act as clan head of the Uzumaki clan. Hiruzen asked, thinking he had the demon right where he wanted him and didn't even try and hide the smirk this time. Actually, I took the liberty of giving myself that mission as I am the current clan head. Naruto said, shocking everyone in the room, none more so than Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Sasuke. If that's true, then why can't I take clan leadership, damn it? The brooding wonder thought angrily. I'm sorry Naruto, but that's impossible. You have to be at least Chunin or of the age of 18 to be able to take clan leadership, and you are neither. Hiruzen stated, narrowing his eyes at the boy in front of him. What are you getting at, demon? Said Old Monkey wondered to himself. Actually, a law, stated in the contract you made with Uzumaki when discussing an alliance, states that all Uzumaki laws would be valid in Konoha politics. And as stated in Uzumaki clan law number 3, if in the case of clan annihilation, if there is a suitable heir, ergo someone that is of maturity or is a shinobi, that person shall be named clan head. If you require proof, I have the entire Uzumaki law book at the compound and I'm sure you already know of your own laws and contracts. Naruto explained monotonously as he cleaned out his ear with his pinky and yawned afterwards. Yes, why did you attack Sasuke-sama and Kakashi-san? A no-name civilian council member demanded. I attacked them because they dared attack the people under my clan's protection. I had already subdued them and made a contract with them, in front of the entire team and Tazuna I might add, and those two decided that my protection wasn't good enough and disregarded my wishes. I was just protecting the people in my employment. He explained calmly. That will be enough. Thank you for your side of the story. Please wait outside as the council comes to a decision. He said, and everyone could hear the reluctance in the Hokage's thanks. As they waited outside, Sasuke approached Naruto with a scowl on his face. Oh, I demand that you give me anything useful you found on that island. If anyone can put something to use effectively, it would be me. He demanded with a smirk. Well, I demand you give me everything in your clan compound. Naruto countered. Hell no. Everything in that compound is mine and mine alone. Are you crazy? Sasuke yelled angrily. See, doesn't feel good to have things demanded of you, especially clan objects and jutsu. And even if I did give you even one thing I got from my homeland, you wouldn't know how to use it properly. Though I did see a big stick there that would look great up your ass, you would just have to remove the one already occupying that space. Naruto said while digging in his fingernails for dirt. How dare you, you loser. I am an elite from an elite clan and one of the founders of Konoha, the strongest hidden village in all of the elemental nations. He argued smugly. You're not an elite. It's the exact opposite, actually. Because you have been so pampered and have had everything given to you, you haven't had to work nearly as hard as you should have been. The only reason you were the best in the academy is because you were treated with favoritism and the standards were oh so low. 2. If your clan was so elite, why did they get taken out by one man? Granted, that man was a prodigy of his clan and mastered anything that was given to him, but that shouldn't have mattered to a clan of elites. At least when my clan was destroyed, it took 2 of the 5 great hidden villages and a number of smaller villages. Even then, my clan was able to decimate over 3/4 of their armies before going down. And last but certainly not least, the founding of this village was the only good thing your clan did, and that was only when the first 2 Hokage were in office. After that everything just went downhill until my father came into the picture, and even then, that picture didn't last long. He explained, finally looking Sasuke in the eyes, only to see that Sasuke had enabled his Sharingan, making them blood red with 2 black tomo in one eye and one in the other. Now that you have looked into the eyes blessed by Kami, you will bow to me. You don't even have your inferior knockoff activated, so you have no way of blocking what terrors I'm about to unleash upon you. The brooding king exclaimed. Wow, those really are pathetic. I don't have the time nor the patience to Now you two, stop fighting. Kakashi said, not really paying attention as he read his porn. Well, maybe you should stop reading smut. I mean you are a jonin, you should start acting like one. Naruto countered, making Yuki silently agree. Well, when you are as strong and respected me, you can get away with stuff like this. He replied smugly. 1. I'm stronger than you, or do you want a replay of our first fight? He asked, breaking that smug look from Kakashi's face. And 2, you really think this village respects you? Half of this village are women, so that's an immediate no. Then there are those who actually respect women. So, you are probably respected by a very small percentage, and that's only because of your so-called prowess, which you gained from a foreign eye, on that was given to you in order to protect one person. What happened to that person again, Kakashi? That one hit its mark. Kakashi lunged forward and grabbed Naruto's collar before lifting him up a bit. You shouldn't talk about things that don't concern you. Now I have to kill you. He threatened, causing Sasuke to smirk and Yuki to look in fear. You really should let go of me as I will not be held responsible for what happens to you if you do not. Naruto replied, seemingly bored with this situation. What are you gonna do, brat? Use QB's chakra right in the center of the strongest village in all of the elemental nations. You wouldn't make it out of the building before being cut down. The most idiotic person in the world asked, still not understanding that all of Naruto's power was his own. Though he does thank Kurama every day for them. I warned you. The blonde replied before the doors opened again to show what was happening to all of the council. The civilian side was ecstatic at the scene and immediately started cheering on the elder Sharingan user. The shinobi side, however, were outraged. Kakashi was holding up a genin and threatening to kill said genin. No matter what he held, this was still grounds for treason and the murder of a fellow ninja. Hiruzen was angry. On the outside it looked like mild irritation, but on the inside, he was fuming. That idiot. What the hell is he thinking? Now I'm going to have to punish him instead of the demon. Why does he let himself be antagonized by the demon? I'm about to just say tuck it and let Danzo have this brat just to get him under control. The Hokage thought in anger. Kakashi hot Aki. What the hell is going on here? Sumin asked demanded. Oh well we were just talking. He said, though it sounded more like a question. Then why are you looking like you are about to attack him? Shikaku Nara asked with a raised eyebrow, wishing he was at home right now. I apologize, I let my anger get the better of me. He mentioned Rin and Obito, and I just lost myself for a second. He said with a bow, all the while thinking, damn you demon. I'll get you back for this if it's the last thing I do. Be that as it may, I will still have to punish you for your actions. Meet me in my office after this meeting is adjourned. You will be punished for both attacking Naruto here and his employees in Wave. Sasuke will not be punished as he was following orders given to him by his sensei. You are all dismissed. Not a second after he finished with his explanation did Naruto disappear in a flash of silver. After everyone left, Hiruzen and Kakashi adjourned to his office, to which as soon as the door closed and a privacy seal was in place, said Hokage punched the silver-haired jonin hard enough to embed him 3 inches in the wall. You tucking imbecile. What the hell were you thinking? Seeing as Kakashi was about to speak, Hiruzen launched another punch, this time at his stomach. Don't speak. You need to control the demon, not drive him farther away. Now, thanks to your little antics, I will probably have to hand the demon over to Danzo just to get him back under control. You've forced my hand in this situation, Kakashi. Hiruzen said, getting his anger under control. After loads of coughing with blood staining the office floor and Kakashi getting out of the wall, the silver-haired Sharingan user was able to speak again. Just give me one more chance. I will train Sasuke extensively in secret. I'll power up his Sharingan as much as possible and even teach him my Chidori. When the Chunin exams come around, he will be ready to use his Sharingan to control the demon. I'll make sure to be there on time and be sure to stay on task the entire time. He will be more powerful than me by the time the final task comes along. Kakashi pleaded. I guess you can have one last chance. But know this, if you fail this time, I'll have you demoted to genin, and you will not be allowed access to any adult material, including uchiha. He stated ominously, causing Kakashi to stare with wide eyes at the thought of no porn. Yes sir. He said, grasping the seriousness of the situation. Now, let's talk about your punishment for failing so far. He said with an evil smile. 1 month later. Kakashi's punishment was mild at best. He was ordered to only do D-rank missions by himself with no access to his chakra to help him for about a month and a half. Afterwards, he got back to his team and started their training. Training meaning Kakashi would give Naruto and Yuki some jutsu or chakra control, while he took Sasuke to some other private field and actually trained him. What he didn't know was that every time he left, Naruto would throw away whatever he gave them and trained Yuki himself. He taught her any chakra control exercises that she needed, except the ones that required too much chakra, some jutsu for her affinities, though he couldn't teach her any of his plasma release jutsu, as they were way too powerful and took too much chakra to preform, but he would ask Madara or Shisui to go to Iwa and grab some of their jutsu for her. In the meantime, however, he taught her some minor plasma control techniques that would help her immensely when she did get some jutsu. He also taught her a good fighting style that complemented her abilities and physique. One day, when Kakashi was gathering them all up, he told everyone to stay instead of taking Sasuke to their secret training session. Okay you all, I have requested the Hokage to allow Team 7 to participate in the upcoming Chunin exams that are being taken in Konoha this year. If you want to take it, take this slip of paper to the academy and go to the 3rd floor, the exact room number is on the slip, and give it to the person at the door. Team training is cancelled for today, so you can think about your choices. See ya. He said, sending a discreet nod to Sasuke, which only Naruto caught. Well, Yuki, do you want to train some more or go home and think? Naruto asked as he turned to their only female teammate. No thank you, I will take this time to think over my abilities and create a strategy for the exams. Thank you though. She said as she left the field leaving Naruto and Sasuke alone. So, are you going to enter? Sasuke asked with a smirk. Obviously. Why would I miss the opportunity to kick your face for all of the world to see? He asked rhetorically. Though, I do want to see all of the other people who think they're strong enough for these exams. That's one thing we can agree upon. You better make it to the finals because I want to be the one that destroys that arrogant attitude of yours. Sasuke smirks as he walked away. Yeah, what is it with people always confusing confidence with arrogance? He asked to himself as he started to head back to his house to ask Shisui or Madara of a favor. Annoyed. That was the best word to describe the young Uzumaki male at the moment. As they entered the academy building to take the first test of the Chunin exams, they had only made it to the 2nd floor when Sasuke decided to open his big mouth when they approached a door that was guarded by 2 Chunin disguised as genin. Flashback. You should just drop the game jutsu now, no one can deceive the eyes of an uchiha. He said smugly, only to be whacked upside the head by an incredulous Yuki. You really are a moron. That was the first test for all genin. If they couldn't even tell that that was a game jutsu and that they were only on the 2nd floor, then they weren't good enough to be Chunin. Now, instead, we have a lot more competition that could have been easily dismissed before the first task even started. She all but yelled at their arrogant teammate. It's just like a woman to fear a little extra competition. I, on the other hand, welcome a challenge. He replied arrogantly, saying the last part more towards the genin who had been fooled by the trick, while also getting quite a few glares from the female population. Then a challenge you will get. Turning, Team 7 found the owner of the voice to be none other than Guy's Mini-Me and Taijutsu expert Rock Lee. Though, only Naruto knew his name. I, Rock Lee, wish to challenge Sasuke Uchiha to a battle. It will be a fight to see what will win, natural-born talent or hard work and determination. The Taijutsu expert shouted with ferocity, causing Naruto to smirk, knowing just who would win in this fight. Lee, we can't waste time with these rookies. It was you who said that we should keep a low profile in the first place. Another boy, one Niji Hyuga, came up accompanied by a girl with 2 buns in her brown hair, her name was Tintin. Altogether, they made up Team 9, or commonly referred to as Team Guy. True, but I feel that this will be an excellent warm-up to a truly youthful exam. He replied with a fist pump. If you know my name, then you know that what you're proposing is ridiculous. Though, I will humor you, if only to show my teammate what kind of beating he is in for when we fight. Sasuke said with a smirk as he glared at Naruto, who wasn't paying attention to him, choosing to contemplate if he really wanted to torture himself with the Uchiha's presence just to beat him in front of everyone. Then follow me and we can show our flames of youth before the first task. Lee shouted again before taking off down the hall towards an open arena. Flashback end. That about brings you up to speed. They were just getting ready to start the fight when Sasuke opened his eyes to show his Sharingan, both eyes having two tomo. "With these eyes, you will be little more than a bug under my foot," said Uchiha smirked arrogantly. "Ah, I see you have forgotten any strategy in this fight, instead choosing to just show your best hand in the beginning. No matter, it will only make my victory all the sweeter," Lee yelled in glee and anticipation. Scowling, Sasuke started the fight by charging straight at the Taijutsu expert, wanting to end this fight early in order to go check out the other competition. "You will not win if you underestimate me," Lee yelled as he appeared next to the Uchiha with such speed worthy of the protege of the legendary green beast of Konoha. Lee took advantage of Sasuke's surprise and roundhouse kicked him in the face, sending the Sharingan user flying while yelling, "Leaf Whirlwind." Twisting himself, Sasuke was able to land on his feet again, but not without sliding and stumbling back a few steps. There was also a noticeable mark where a bruise would form on his cheek. Growling in anger, Sasuke charged the genin again, though he was a bit more cautious this time around. The two opponents met in the middle of the arena where they proceeded to exchange taijutsu, though everyone could tell that Sasuke was outmatched. Even with his Sharingan activated, Sasuke could do little more than block some of the taijutsu expert's attacks, which were strong enough to hurt him even when blocked. It wasn't until Sasuke got sent away from the fight by a chin kick from Lee that he understood that he was outmatched in taijutsu. After getting up from the dirt, Sasuke started to perform hand seals, ready to fire a jutsu at the bowl cut teen. When Lee was close enough, Sasuke brought his right hand up to his mouth before breathing out a large fireball. Fire style. Grand fireball. Seeing the technique, Lee dodged to the right, easily avoiding the ball of flame, only to have to cross his arms to block a kick from Sasuke. As soon as he felt the force behind the kick lessen, Lee took hold of the offending limb and spun the Uchiha before throwing him directly into the path of the Uchiha's own jutsu. While Sasuke was able to dodge the fireball before it did any significant damage, he was not able to avoid getting his left arm and leg burned in the process. "Good plan, poor execution," Naruto said with a chuckle from his position on the sidelines. "Shut up, dope. I don't need your tucking at it, ga," Sasuke yelled before being cut off by a leg in his stomach. "Never take your eyes off of your opponent. That is the first lesson a shinobi learns," Lee yelled, a bit angry at the Uchiha's blatant show of disrespect. Again, Lee kicked the Uchiha away before stepping back a bit and loosening his bandages around his arms, causing his teammates to look shocked while Naruto just smirked. My, Guy-sensei. You really are an effective teacher. Maybe this will bring that Tucker back down to earth," Naruto thought before chuckling a bit at his unintentional joke. "I will now show you my flames of youth," Lee yelled before charging his foe, who was taking a bit longer to get up from his last taijutsu engagement. As Lee got within 10 feet of the Uchiha, a large tortoise poofed into existence in the way of his charge. Seeing the summon in time, Lee skid across the dirt until he stopped just in front of the tortoise before bowing. "What in the hell do you think you were about to do to that young man? You know what your sensei said about that technique. I'm glad I got here in time before you actually went through with it," the tortoise spoke in a slightly raspy tone. "I'm sorry, I got carried away with the fight and I am prepared for the punishment," Lee spoke before a puff of smoke appeared on the tortoise's back, revealing Might Guy. "Lee, you idiot," he said as he punched his student across the face, sending him back about 7 feet. "You know that technique is forbidden. As punishment you will have extra sparring sessions with me with your hands tied behind your back," the teacher yelled before noticing Team 7 standing to the side. So those are Kakashi's students. That Sasuke barely gave Lee any challenge, but that blonde one, Naruto Uzumaki, he's hiding something. Though, he seems strong. Guy thought, showing how a real Jonin acts, before letting a large grin stretch across his face. "Yosh. That's it. Lee, you have found your new rival." "But, Guy-sensei, the Uchiha did not give me a challenge, even with his Sharingan activated," Lee replied with confusion, causing Sasuke to scowl. "I'm not talking about him, my young protege. That one, Uzumaki-kun, will prove to be an amazing rival, causing you to grow exponentially in fun competition," the Jonin yelled boisterously as he pointed out the blonde genin. "I see, Guy-sensei. Yosh, I will fight you, Naruto Uzumaki, in these exams and then we will see if you are truly a worthy rival." With that said, Team 9 left the arena, leaving the room empty besides Team 7. "So, did you have fun getting your face handed to you?" Naruto asked with a smirk, barely being able to contain his mirth at seeing the Uchiha get beaten so badly by someone who can't even use nin or gain jutsu, not that he was badmouthing Lee's strength or even mocking him. It was just a fact that shinobi mainly use jutsu nowadays to show strength. Sasuke merely scowled as he walked out of the arena, heading towards where they were to take their first test, followed shortly after by the rest of Team 7. Smart move, making it so that the time in the arena would move faster than the time outside. Kurama commented when he saw that they still had plenty of time to get to the room. Yeah, and Guy didn't even seem to notice the time difference. Dainsleif said enthusiastically. Why thank you both, I have my moments. Naruto whispered with a smile before catching up to his teammates. After finally making it to their room, they all noticed Kakashi standing at the door waiting for them to get there. Ah, I see you all have arrived. Good, because if even one of you decided not to take the exams, none of you would have been able to compete, as this is a team competition. He said as his gaze lingered on the blonde, trying to say that if he were to back out and cost the Uchiha this chance, then he would kill the boy. Anyway, as you are all here, why don't you get on inside? He said with an eye smile to Sasuke and a hand on his shoulder as he passed, doing the same when Yuki passed. Though, when Naruto went to enter, Kakashi blocked his path with his arm. Not really wanting to deal with the man right now, Naruto merely gazed up at the Jonin with boredom. What do you want, hot Aki? If I don't get in there then they might hold back Team 7 from competing. Scowling, Kakashi replied, watch it, demon. Just because you're my sensei's son doesn't mean I will treat you any differently. I don't know how you were able to control Kushina-senpai into caring for you, but I will stop you. And when I do, I will make you beg for mercy. With that, the Jonin started to walk away, only to stop when he heard the genin call for him to wait. Turning back around, Kakashi noticed that the blonde was holding out a box and a letter. My father wanted me to give this to you. I just kept forgetting about it until now so, here. Once the Jonin took it, Naruto walked into the classroom. Kakashi, being slightly suspicious of the Hokage, decided to open the box first and then read the letter afterwards. The poor choice really, seeing as how when he opened the box a large boxing glove shot out and decked him straight in the jaw, almost knocking him completely unconscious. Making sure no one saw that little scene, Kakashi hurriedly opened the letter, hoping that his late sensei had left him a mission to kill his demon-possessed son. What he got instead was a long, very descriptive letter of what privileges Naruto had, since he was the son of a Hokage and basically royalty. One that was boldened, made specifically that way to draw the Jonin's attention. Being of the Hokage's blood, any person, shinobi or otherwise, of the Leaf Village that attacks this child, can be stripped of only the bare minimum of their chakra and locked into the personal prison of whichever Hokage that child is related to. Each prison is different than the other Hokage's prison, as each prison is only to hold those that have wronged that Hokage and his or her bloodline, specifically. Kakashi could now say that he was scared. Not only would he lose his chakra and Sharingan, he would also be put into a prison that is said to be the worst there ever was, with whoever got put in there never to be seen from again. There were also rumors that even the people with the strongest of wills have gone mad within a few months of being in one of those cells. Though, he calmed himself down when he told himself that their current Hokage would never allow that. So, after thoroughly calming himself, he dismissed the letter in the closest trash bin and went on his merry way. Chuckling at hearing the Jonin hit the floor, Naruto entered the classroom to see that most of the teams were already seated and ready for the first task, though his formal attire seemed to put off a few people. Said contestants started to exude killing intent when they saw his team enter. While it was almost laughable for Naruto, he saw Yuki clench her teeth a bit, making Naruto to narrow his eyes before rounding his gaze onto the fellow genin. Seeing his expression, some of the genin stopped in their intimidation attempts. The rest of them, however, were subject to Naruto's killing intent, though not even close to half of it, causing a good bit of them to faint. Ah, I see you all are taking these exams as well, troublesome. Turning, Naruto caught the eyes of teams 8 and 10, with Shikamaru being the one who spoke. Sasuke. Oh, how I missed you my love. Ino yelled as she latched onto the Uchiha's back, though she shied away from the blonde when she remembered what he did to her back in the academy. What she saw when she tried to take over his body was something that still haunted her nightmares. Alright. Glad to see everyone made it. It'll just take a bit longer before I win, right Akamaru? The ever-eccentric Inuzuka heir yelled in anticipation, though he faltered when he didn't receive a reply from his partner. Looking at the dog, he noticed that his partner was staring at Naruto with an almost frightful look in his eyes. Akamaru? Kiba asked curiously, effectively getting the dog out of whatever trance it was in. You know, you should really keep it down over here, lest you attract unwanted attention. A voice spoke from behind them. The voice belonged to a man who had silver white hair, a purple jumpsuit covering a white shirt, with white bandages over his waist. He also had round glasses and a Konoha headband to finish his outfit off. My name is Kabuto Yakushi, I'm a Konoha genin as well. He said with a clearly, to Naruto at least, fake smile. Oh, hello Kabuto-san. Is this your first time taking these exams as well? Ino asked curiously. Oh, not at all. Actually, this'll be my 7th attempt at becoming Chunin. So, with my experience, I know about pretty much everyone taking these exams. Kabuto explained, before pulling out a deck of blank cards. All of my information is stored on these cards. As he went on to explain some basic information about the different villages participating in these exams, Naruto zoned him out in favor of secretly activating his Sharingan to check out his cards. Under a Genjutsu, of course, Okabuto, or anyone else for that matter, wouldn't get suspicious. It seems as though we have a spy in our midst. He absolutely reeks of snakes as well, which means he's working for Orochimaru. Maybe things will get interesting, Kurama? Naruto thought after seeing the kind of information he had on those cards. Most of it being what no genin of any village would have. I told you it wouldn't be too boring. Do you think the snake will make a move during the exams? The fox asked with a chuckle. I sure hope so, otherwise this guy is probably just here to see if he wants to recruit anyone. With that, Naruto came back to the conversation at hand just in time to hear Sasuke speak to the spy. Rock Lee, Gaara of the Sand, and Naruto Uzumaki. He said, sparing a glance to the red-haired boy sitting in the middle row, next to the window. Ah yes, Gaara. The genin from Sunagakur with the ability to control sand. He didn't need Kurama to figure out that the boy held the one-tailed tanuki, Shikaku. Sending the boy a glance, he could tell that he had something seriously off the rocker about him. Whatever it was making him fidget every few minutes and even send glares to anyone unlucky enough to annoy him. Though, right now he seemed to be put off and angry by the appearance of Naruto. Sabaku no Gaara, teammates are his siblings, Sabaku no Temari, and Sabaku no Kankuro. He mainly uses sand manipulation and sand jutsu. Missions completed. 30 C rank, 15 B rank, and 7 A rank. Said to have come back from each mission without a scratch, though no one knows why. Kabuto explained before putting the card back and grabbing another one. Rock Lee of Konoha, teammates are Niji Hyuga and Tenten, no surname. Their sensei is Might Guy, legendary green beast of Konoha. Lee has a disability which proves nin and gain jutsu out of his reach, but has more than made up for it with his extraordinary taijutsu abilities, with his strength and speed being way above average for his age. Missions completed. 57 D rank, 23 C rank, 12 B rank, and 2 A rank. This caused said taijutsu user to puff out his chest slightly in pride, while Niji narrowed his eyes in slight suspicion at the silver-haired genin. And finally, Naruto Uzumaki, teammates are Sasuke Uchiha and Yukatora Hako. Has been shown to excel in all forms of combat and seemed to just jump in power in his second year in the academy. Seemed to have been able to defeat his sensei, Kakashi of the Sharingan, B rank missing nins. Maizu and Gozu, A rank missing nin, Zabuza Mamachi, as well as kill about 100 thugs with only one jutsu. He also seems to possess a few Kekkei Genkai that have never been recorded before, making him a mystery when it comes to danger level. Missions completed. 134 D rank and 1 A rank. Hearing his completed missions, every genin looked at him in astonishment. 2 words. Shadow clones. Naruto said as he dismissed their looks. As soon as he became a genin, he had created 5 shadow clones a day to do D ranks. Also, seeing as how the others got quite antsy when cooped up in the house every day, they secretly escaped the village whenever they wanted to do a job as a mercenary or just hunt missing nin. Quickly building up their reputations as some of the strongest mercenaries out there, utilizing strange bloodlines that have never been seen before, or so says the bingo book. Though they made sure to wear disguises so that no one could identify them by appearance alone farther down the line. One time, Iwa had tried to set a bounty on Taka, who's going by Rabbit when in mercenary mode, for Shiro, going by Wretched Egg, to complete. This was to try and set the two people with strange bloodlines against each other and hopefully weaken each other enough so that they could kidnap them and breed them in Iwa. The result, which surprised the Tsuchikage immensely, was that Shiro only laughed when she was told who to go after, replying with, "Nah, I don't hunt friends." This enraged Iwa's Kage and basically told everyone that the new mercenaries on the scene were all working together, which wasn't too far off. Anyway, since then, every village has tried to get them to join or even sign an alliance, but all were unsuccessful. Shut it, maggots. Get seated before I kick your asses and ban you from these exams. Ibiki Marino, the director of the T&I department, yelled as he entered the room, effectively knocking Naruto from his thoughts. That got the reaction he wanted as every genin quickly ran to their seats as assigned by the Chunin assistants. You will all have 30 minutes to answer these 9 questions. At the end of that time, the last question will be administered by me. Everyone will start with 10 points. Cheating will result in a deduction of 2 points for each offense. Getting caught cheating 5 times will cause you and your team to be disqualified. You may begin. Ibiki explained. And that's when it got really boring. Instead of the hardcore blood-pumping exams that he was expecting, he had to take a damn test. It was so boring that even the answer was painfully obvious to those who put a little thought into it. What surprised him though was just how many genin were dismissed due to cheating. I mean seriously, there were very few rookie genin, meaning that most of the people in the room had experienced missions like these, and yet they were cut down by at least 1/3 by the end of the time limit. Okay, pencils down. I will now give you all the last question verbally. Though, before I do that, I will present you all with a choice. You can choose to not take this question, and you and your team will be disqualified to try again next time. Horibiki explained before exclaiming the last word when he saw people about to voice their opinions. You can choose to take this question with the risk of being banned from any and all exams in the future, should you get it wrong. Of course, a lot of genin immediately voiced their opinions against such a consequence. What? But there are genin here who have taken the exams before and obviously failed. Kankuro exclaimed, gaining tick marks from quite a few genin in the room. True, though you were just unlucky to get me as your instructor this year. Hibiki responded with apathy. Now, if you all are done fishing, if you are unwilling to take this question, please raise your hand. Now, if the first test didn't get rid of people enough, this decision sure did. Their numbers dropped by another half, bringing the amount of people still gunning for the title of Chunin down to about 36 genin, or 13 teams. Just as the last team left the room and no one else raised their hands, Hibiki gained a smirk. Good, everyone that's left has passed the first exam. You will all move on to the second exam. The scarred man said, gaining confused expressions from nearly everyone in the room. Wait, what about the last question? Tamari asked curiously. There was no 10th question. It was all just a scare tactic in order to see who was too cowardly to answer a stupid question. If they couldn't even gather up the courage to answer the last question, then they can't be trusted to man up on a mission, maybe even killing their teammates with their inaction. Naruto spoke up from his spot near the front row. Everyone turned to see that Naruto was leaning back in his chair with his fedora over his eyes, apparently relaxing while everyone else was stressing over the last question. That is correct. Hibiki said as he took off his bandana, every mission has the danger to escalate into a higher rank at any given moment, or it could even be a trap. Enemy ninja will use every tool in their arsenal to torture and break you if they think you even have the slightest bit of useful information. You must be prepared to take that risk in every mission you accept and prepare yourselves to do the same should the occasion come around. With his speech done, Hibiki wrapped his head again to hide his scars. Naruto only gave a nod of respect, seeing as how the Jonin had learned all of that firsthand. As soon as he was done, a brown blur came crashing through the window before throwing two kunai to hang a large poster saying, "The awesome and single Anko Mitarashi." Yo, what's with this, Hibiki? You must be losing your touch if there are still this many people passed through. Anko said with a smirk as she stood up to her full height, giving everyone a good view of the woman. She was a tall woman with dark purple hair tied up into a short fan ponytail. She wore a fitted mesh bodysuit over her torso, with a tan overcoat over top of it. She also wore a dark orange miniskirt with a dark blue belt holding it up. You're actually on time for once, Anko. And in regard to your comment, maybe there are just some exceptional prospects this year. Hibiki replied with a smirk towards Naruto, causing said genin to match his smirk. Well, no matter, I'll knock out at least half of them with my task. She said evilly, causing most genin to shiver, though Naruto just matched her gaze with a challenging smirk. Meet me at training ground 44 in 10 minutes or you fail. But that exclamation, Anko dove straight back out of the hole she made in the window, causing many to just stare at the spot where she once stood in bewilderment. Well, let's go Yuki-chan. And Uchiha, try not to lag behind. Naruto said as he appeared behind Yuki with a hand on her shoulder. Hey-chan, whatever. Was all the response he got before Team 7 vacated the classroom through the window, much like their second instructor. 10 minutes later. As everyone arrived at the training ground, they noticed that the area for their next task was a giant forest enclosed by an equally impressive metal fence. Alrighty kiddos, here's where you'll really get tested on your skills as a shinobi in the Forest of Death. Each team will receive one of 2 scrolls for you to protect and keep at all times. You will have 5 days and 5 nights to retrieve the other scroll and make it to that center tower by the end of the 5th day, with both scrolls intact and unopened. If anyone opens their scroll, then that team will be immediately disqualified. Any questions? Anko explained, relishing in the scared faces of the genin when they heard what this area was called. Toji was the first to raise his hand, though he didn't wait to be called on to go ahead and ask, what will we do for food for all that time? Well, there are plenty of edible plants and animals in the forest, so I'm sure you'll think of something. Anko answered with a smirk, causing the young Akimichi to widen his eyes in fear. Seeing as no one else had any questions, Anko went ahead and distributed the scrolls to each team, with Team 7 receiving the Earth Scroll. Seeing as the instructor was heading to give the scroll to Naruto, Sasuke rushed forwards and snatched the objective out of her hands, causing the Takubetsu Jonin to growl slightly. Thank you, this should be held by the leader of this team, and that would be me. Sasuke said with a sneer. Go right ahead, doesn't make a difference to me. Though, you did just snatch something from a powerful Jonin's hand, a Jonin that has been known to destroy anyone who touches her wrong or looked at her with anything resembling lust. Naruto commented with a smirk. Whatever, she can't touch me. I'm an Uchiha elite, well she's just a dumb four who couldn't even be a real Jonin. Sasuke said arrogantly as he turned and spat at the said Jonin's feet, causing Naruto to widen his eyes and back away from Anko, who was radiating a dark aura, though she only showed a happy smile. Oh shit. Naruto mumbled as he was genuinely curious how the snake summoner would react. Oh, I'm so gonna enjoy this. She said, confusing the Uchiha brat. New rule. The person team who beats the living hell out of this genin for the longest period of time before he passes out gets a free pass into the next trial. That proclamation caused many genin to stare at the duck-haired genin in pure glee, already having enough of his attitude, as well as causing Naruto to roll on the floor in laughter. You can't do that, you wench. I am an elite of Konoha and I will be treated with respect. Sasuke spat out at that purple-haired jonin as he got right in her face, trying to intimidate her with his Sharingan. Hey, it's my exam, my rules. I could fail you right now if I wanted to, but I want to see what you look like when you exit this forest, if you exit, that is. Anko continued as she smirked, both at Sasuke's enraged face and Naruto's dying of laughter. As that feud ended, everyone was escorted to their assigned gate before they had to wait to be allowed into the deadly forest. I'm going to kill that fish. Right after I torture her and kill anyone she cares for. Sasuke mumbled, though Naruto heard it easily, giving Naruto one of the few good looks at how insane the black-haired boy has become. I should probably kill him soon. He's becoming quite annoying. Naruto thought as he eyed the boy. You got that right, though he's always been annoying. His tenant spoke up, causing Naruto to realize something. Kurama, it's been a while. Where have you been, furball? Haven't heard a peep from you since we were talking about the Snake Pedo's henchman. He asked, though smirking at the feeling of his partner's annoyance rising. I've been out. You know, running a few errands and such. The QB responded with a growl at being called such a humiliating nickname. Really? What errands could a giant nine-tailed fox possibly have besides destroying a village or two? Naruto thought incredulously. At this point, every team was released and starting to make their way through the forest. If you must know, I was conversing with the other Biju. When I saw the state Shukaku's, my brother's, host was in. Anyway, I figured that if he was like that, maybe the others were in similar states. Kurama explained, catching himself in the middle. I see, what did you find out? Naruto asked, sensing that the fox didn't want to talk about what he felt, which he could understand and respect. Most of them were fine, with friendly hosts even, though I could tell that I was Jinchuriki are treated as tools by everyone, though I didn't see any abuse. The few that weren't, being Chimei, Seiken, and Asobu, are in trouble. Chimei's host is in a situation much like your own used to be, though on a slightly smaller scale. Seiken's is a rogue ninja, ever since the civil war in Kiri has driven him out of the village, a prime target for Akatsuki. The worst of them, Asobu his Jinchuriki is being controlled by a Sharingan no less. Whatever the gain jutsu was, could control a Biju with ease. Kurama left off, wanting his host to make the connection. Abito. Naruto thought, finishing Kurama's word search. Though, it seems that with my chakra within the seal, the gain jutsu was put on standby, unable to withhold the might of two Biju at the same time, though I couldn't break the control on his host. The Jinchuriki, Gaara I think was his name, has been cut off from using his tailed beast's power, but only for the amount of time my chakra is within the seal, which I left enough for a couple of weeks. The problem is that once that chakra is gone, Gaara will be once more at full power, and Obito probably already knows that something is wrong. The fox explained, slightly fearing for his little brother. Don't worry, we'll help them out. We can help Gaara and Shukaku once we find them in the forest. We'll go during the month break in the final trial of the exams. That should give us plenty of time to get there and get back unnoticed. The blonde reassured his tenant. Thank you, Kit. Kurama said with sincerity. No problem, anything to help out a friend. And with that, Kurama shut off the link to ponder over their next move. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Naruto called out once they got far enough away from their gate. I'm going to go search for a heaven scroll, as well as try and take out any future competition. Yuki, you stay here with the Uchiha. I know it'll be annoying, but many teams will be looking for him thanks to the added rule against him. Uchiha, you and Yuki will make your way to the center tower, taking out any and all teams you come across. Who the hell are you to order me around? Sasuke asked arrogantly. Well, I'm more powerful, wiser, and, most importantly, not a beep. The blonde listed off, causing Yuki to giggle. Now, you guys go. I need to go do my thing. Hey. You don't order me around. Sasuke yelled as he grabbed a kunai, like he was going to do something. Naruto looked down so that his eyes were shadowed by his hair. That is, until he suddenly looked up with crimson red eyes with slit pupils. With this change in eye color came an oppressive aura that surrounded the boy. Though, to Yuki, it felt warm and comforting, like a warm fire on a winter evening. "You wanna say that again, fish boy?" Naruto asked menacingly. Seeing as how the Uchiha was going to keep biting his tongue, Naruto quickly stopped channeling Kurama's chakra, taking the eye changes and aura with it. With a nod, Naruto fell off his branch backwards, though he didn't appear under it like they were expecting. He just disappeared like he was never there. Think like how the Cheshire Cat disappears in Alice in Wonderland. Someplace unknown. The large man, seemingly 8 feet tall, with snow-white hair and tanned skin, looked to be sleeping in a large bed, meant to hold someone of his stature, as well as one more person of his stature. It wasn't until he felt some kind of disturbance that he awoke in a start, showing his eyes to be pure white with no iris or pupil. Rising from his bed, the man seemed to be in thought before smirking ever so smugly. He then walked over to what seemed like a wardrobe before putting on a pure white dress suit with a white tie and undershirt. "Oh, Kurama, you stupid mutt, I knew you were foolish, but this definitely takes the cake," the man said to no one as he stood up. "I'll put you back into your place soon, but for now, you play your little game with your human pet," he said with a bit of disgust in his voice as he said human. "To think you would use my power to provide this little pest with newfound strength. TSK, what a waste. Soon, I will take back what is mine and you can join your family once again. Then I will send your pet to the depths of hell for upsetting the balance of this world, the world you so adore." And with that, the man left the bedroom, obviously to prepare for whatever came next. But Sasuke. They had been tree hopping for a few minutes now when suddenly a tall woman jumped out in front of them, instantly putting them on guard. When she stood up, Sasuke and Yuki were able to get a good look at her. She had long black hair and black eyes. She wore a straw hat that covered up her Kusagakure headband, as well as a long tan shirt over a black jumper, as well as a purple rope belt around her waist. So it looks like you're down a member. Well, no matter. Wouldn't make a difference in the end. I see you have an earth scroll, which go quite well with my heaven scroll, wouldn't you say, Sasuke? She asked before completely swallowing it. "Chan, so you know my name. Why don't you just hand over your scroll and I won't hurt you too bad, eh?" he asked with a smirk while Yuki just rolled her eyes, not dropping her guard for a second. Seeing his arrogance, the Kusanin just smirked before unleashing a massive, to them, amount of killing intent, forcing them to watch their own deaths by her hands. "This lady, she's insane. She'll kill us and we can't do a damn thing about it," Sasuke thought as the lady slowly walked towards them. My Sasuke, how weak you are. You'll never be able to kill him like this." The lady spoke, though it seemed slightly slurred and maniacal. "Shut up. I'll kill him if it's the last thing I do, and no one's gonna stand in my way. Not you. Not Naruto. Not anybody," Sasuke yelled, obviously enraged at the mention of his brother. Just then, Sasuke activated his Sharingan before jumping backwards a good distance, leaving Yuki to stand in front of the crazy woman alone. You're still standing. Quite impressive for a genin. Though, I do not care about you at the moment, so die," the woman yelled as she lunged at the shaking girl as she held a kunai out in front of her in a sort of defense stance. "Shit. Why won't my body move?" She watched as the enemy got closer by the second. "Come on, do something. Move." Suddenly, a purple light began exuding from her right hand. Trusting her instincts, Yuki just thrust out her hand, palm facing her foe, before calling out a name she had only just learned. "Plasma release. Hyperstorm," she called out as a large spiraling gust of purple lightning shot from her hand, catching the perpetrator in a series of electrocutions, unable to escape by herself. "Ah!" the enemy yelled out. "Why the hell can't I move? It feels like I'm being burned from the inside out." Looking in shock at the technique she just used, Yuki did not notice the sound of birds chirping coming from behind her. Nor the fact that those sounds were getting closer by the seconds. "So, it turns out that you were useful for something after all," Sasuke yelled as he leapt over the girl with what looked like an unstable ball of lightning covering his fist, aiming straight for the trapped enemy. Seeing as how the boy was going right in front of her technique, Yuki was forced to cancel it, lest she catch the Uchiha in it as well, no matter how tempting that thought was. "Chidori. Kukuku, how interesting," the lady commented as she stopped Sasuke's hand from getting any closer by grabbing his wrist, before throwing him away like garbage. A holder of the plasma release Keke Toda and to be able to call on its power without hand seals. "I must say, you've just piqued my interest. You even destroyed my disguise, pesky brat." "What the hell?" Yuki gasped as she witnessed the enemy's skin, though it looked less like skin and more like rubber, start to melt off. "Just who the hell are you?" Sasuke demanded as he witnessed the person grab a large hold of her skin before ripping it off and throwing it behind her. Though, now they saw that it wasn't as she as they thought. Orochimaru, most powerful Sannin and holder of the snake summons. I will show you just what kind of power I can offer you, enough to kill that brother of yours. The now named Orochimaru smirked as he did a few hand signs before extending his neck like it was rubber, exposing his fangs that were glowing with a foul chakra. Not being able to do anything, Sasuke was forced to watch and feel as the Sannin bit into his neck. Though, that was nothing compared to what came next. Suddenly his body became rigid as a board as he was put through immense pain. It felt like his body was slowly being destroyed, cell by cell, and reconstructed, over and over again. All he could do was scream. Even thoughts were out of his reach at the moment. Though when he convulsed, it gave Yuki a good look at a new symbol that appeared on the back of Sasuke's neck. In a bit of mercy, Orochimaru chopped the boy in the back of his neck, knocking him unconscious and free from the physical pain. Well, I won't be needing this anymore. He said as he threw up his scroll again, showing that it was unharmed. That is, until it started to burn in his hand, until it was only ash, blown away by the wind. Until we meet again, the Sannin called out as he sank into the bark of the tree until he was out of sight. Once he was gone, Yuki felt a slight pressure on the back of her neck before sleep overtook her. Standing above the now unconscious girl was the blonde-haired wonder himself, Naruto. Or, a clone of him rather. The boss is not going to like this. It said as it made another clone to pick up the uchiha while it picked up Yuki. They then started to make their way to the center tower. With Naruto 2 minutes after leaving his team. Naruto was currently tree-hopping to where he felt the aura of the only other Jinchuriki in the forest, in the hopes of catching the sand genin before he reached the tower. After finally reaching where the Suna team was located, Naruto looked down from his place in a tree as he watched Gaara brutally defeat an Omegakure genin team with ease. Seeing as how Gaara had hesitated after the fight was over, let Naruto know that he had been detected, though that wasn't very surprising, seeing as how he wasn't really trying to be discreet. You can come down now, Uzumaki. Gaara called out, confusing his siblings. Taking that as his cue, Naruto jumped down into the middle of the clearing for all to see. Even though they were impressed with his mission record, they did not tense up or get into a defensive stance. I mean, who would when you've got an unstoppable, man-killing machine on your side? I see, so you're the one who drives mother mad with bloodlust. She never stops screaming for your blood when you're around. Gaara commented as he held his head in pain. Kill him. I want his blood. Kill him. Kill him. Kill. 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 Shukaku screamed, non-stop, inside of Gaara's head. So that's what you call the tanuki. Seems kinda weird, but who am I to kink shame you? No, I'm just here to help a friend. If the only way I can do that is to fight, then so be it. Naruto replied with a sigh as he got into a loose stance. Gaara's only response was for sand to come barreling out of his gourd towards the blonde, to which said blonde was forced to dodge, shocking the two spectators, as very few people could outrun Gaara's sand, and none of them were genin level. Naruto continued to dodge around the clearing for a few more minutes until he grew bored and rushed at the redhead. Seeing him coming, Gaara didn't have to even twitch before sand sprung up to defend him. What he didn't expect was for two Narutos to appear at the sides of the sand wall. Still not worried, Gaara watched as the sand wall expanded until he was completely covered in a sphere of sand, a sphere that suddenly grew spikes that pierced every clone that was too close to the sphere. Having the sand full around him, Gaara was surprised to see hundreds of Naruto surrounding the clearing. You know, blocking your vision is a really stupid thing to do in a fight, no matter what kind of defense you have. One Naruto commented as he strode forwards. As he walked, every clone poofed out of existence, confusing everyone else, though Gaara didn't show it. What was the point of that then? Just a show of power? Temari asked with a slight laugh. Intimidation won't work on Gaara. You could say that. Or maybe it was a distraction. Who knows? He said as he too disappeared, showing himself to be another clone. Looking around, Gaara found another Naruto standing in a tree above him, seeming to have just finished a series of hand seals before launching wave after wave of water at the redhead. Thinking little of it, Gaara's sand wall sprung up again to block the onslaught. Only this time, Gaara noticed that it was significantly slower and he actually had to will it to stay up. Gaara. Temari called out, seeing the strain on her brother's face as he held the wall up. So, is sand jutsu all you have? You really shouldn't depend so much on your Biju and their gifts, because once someone seals them off, then you're left with nothing. The blonde pointed out as he appeared in front of the redhead with a punch to his stomach. What he didn't anticipate was for his fist to get caught in sand. Naruto didn't react, only watching as sand crept up his arm and started to cover his torso. Smirking evilly, Gaara decided to give his final farewell to the blonde. You might have rendered my outer sand shield next to useless, but you should never underestimate the capabilities of sand and its infinite uses. As he said this, the redhead slowly lifted his hand so that it was facing the blonde, though it was sideways, and was about to make another seal with his other hand when Naruto spoke. Yeah, sure, but I'm talking about when all of your sand is rendered useless. As soon as the words left his mouth, a cloud of frost left with them just before the sand surrounding him started to freeze over into a huge block of ice. Seeing the ice spreading towards him, Gaara jumped back and cut off his sand so that the spreading would stop. Gaara grimaced, his sand wasn't unlimited, unfortunately. He couldn't just bring it out of the air like the Nidaime Hokage could do with water. He didn't even know if he could make more sand with the ground and minerals around him. Naruto effortlessly broke the ice around him, sighing in disappointment that he couldn't break loose a little bit for fear of killing the boy. He heard the Ichibi Jinchuriki growl before forming a sand dome around himself, before they all felt an oppressive and malevolent aura surround them. No. This isn't the plan. Kankuro yelled, trying to reason with his little brother. Naruto knew what he was doing and could only smirk. So, you're finally taking this seriously. Good. Naruto smirked as he unbuttoned the top button on his shirt and loosened his tie a bit, reminding all of them that they had yet to hurt him or even dishevel his formal clothing. Just as he finished speaking, the sand dome fell to reveal Gaara, well, half Gaara. The other half of his appearance seemed to take on the resemblance of the tanuki sealed within him. Mother will have your blood. Gaara yelled as his voice alternated between normal and demonic. Doubtful. Naruto responded with a smile. So, you want to have a biju off? Not very smart considering you have the weakest within you, no offense Shukaku. I know you've been feeling restless recently, so you wanna help me knock some sense into him. Naruto thought to his tenant. Thought you would never ask. Kurama exclaimed with a large grin. Smirking, Naruto unleashed Kurama's bubbling crimson chakra, which immediately took the form of a one-tailed chakra shroud that resembled a fox with two long ears, pointing out of his head and short claws where his nails were. His hair also got shaggier, and his eyes turned dark red with slit pupils. His whisker marks also darkened and became more feral. Damari and Kankuro widened their eyes in shock with the reveal of another Jinchuriki, especially because only one biju took the form of a fox, and that biju was on the completely other side of the ranking spectrum. So, you still want to do this? Naruto asked while cleaning his fingernails tauntingly, showing just how little his biju's chakra affected him. Gaara only roared as he leapt at the blonde and swung a large sand fist, wanting to hit his entire body instead of an isolated area. Naruto simply jumped up and landed on the appendage and rushed towards its owner, dodging and slashing away at the sand tendrils that came at him with ease. Just as he was about to reach the redhead, another wall of sand rose up between the two, before curling around like a hand to try and encapsulate the blonde. That would have been a good plan had Naruto not blasted straight through the thing with a lightning-enhanced swipe of his claws. Once he reached the genin, Naruto dropped off of his arm and kangaroo kicked the boy with such force that he rocketed back and traveled through quite a few trees before finally becoming lodged into one. Seeing the redhead get out of the tree and wipe away some blood from his mouth, Naruto waited to see what the boy would do. Sure, he could just bum rush the boy and overwhelm him easily, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to fight, not destroy. Anyway, Naruto was about tired of waiting and seeing as how Gaara was stalling, so that he could pull more of Shukaku's chakra, he decided that he should probably move. So, dashing forward in a zigzag motion to dodge sand spikes from impaling him, Naruto appeared in front of the Jinchuriki just in time to stop him from using some kind of jutsu, activating his eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, and staring straight into the redhead's eyes to perform a silent Tsukiyomi, causing the world around them to fall away. Tsukiyomi world. What happened? Gaara called out, wondering where he was and why he could no longer feel his mother's chakra. Looking around, Gaara couldn't see anything different about the area around them except for the lack of life around him and the fact that he was in a much larger clearing in the forest than what he was a second ago. That would be my doing. Spinning around, Gaara found the boy he was just fighting, standing there without a care in the world. Uzumaki. What have you done? Where are Temari and Kankuro? Gaara demanded, slightly surprising himself that he expressed concern for his siblings. Smiling a gentle smile, Naruto replied. I used my Sharingan to cast a Gain Jutsu on you. We are now in a world completely of my making and completely under my influence. I brought you here to talk, not to fight. Talk about what? Gaara asked, calming down though not dropping his guard. You, of course. Well, you and him. The blonde said as he gestured to something behind the redhead. Turning once again, sure that he had already checked that area for anything, Gaara was stunned at the giant sand tanuki thrashing around behind him, desperately trying to rid itself of the chains around its neck and limbs. Kill. I'll kill you all. Free me. The biju bellowed as he glared heatedly at the humans in front of him. Yeah, shut up, Shukaku. I know you're not yourself right now, so I won't hold you completely responsible for your actions, but you could at least tone down the attitude a little." Naruto chuckled to himself, shocking Gaara even more that he could be so casual with a freaking Biju, of all things, threatening to kill them all. "Now," the blonde called, knocking him out of his shock. "I'm sure you have some questions and I will answer all of them to the best of my abilities, but first, I think you should meet my tenant." Just as he finished his sentence, a large dark red fox with 9 tails thrashing behind it swaggered into the clearing, choosing to stand behind the blonde in front of him. "Hello, Genin, Shukaku. I see you have only gotten more and more erratic over the years." The fox said quietly, so that his mighty voice would not destroy the human's eardrums. "Kurama. I'll kill you. Let me go so that I can kill you." Shukaku yelled again, though everyone could tell that it was slightly less aggressive and loud as opposed to what it was just seconds ago. "I see just your presence has started to undo the effects. That's good, it means that when you actually start to work on him, it'll go by faster." Naruto commented after seeing the attitude difference. "Yeah, I'll get started now, it should only take a few minutes." Kurama replied before closing his eyes and sending out his chakra in the form of 9 skinny tendrils, each attaching to one of the Tanuki's 8 gates and the last one on his forehead. Well, while they do that, why don't we talk? I'm sure you have your questions." Naruto asked after seeing Shukaku's body become loose and relaxed, like he was asleep or something. "Yeah, for one, what the hell is going on here?" Gaara asked, getting slightly irritated at the lack of acknowledgement of his confusion. "Ah, yes, I'm sorry. What we are doing is undoing the effects your, how should I say it, crappy seal has had on Shukaku's mind. This will cause him to be a lot more responsive to your needs and more talkative, rather than hateful and uncivilized." Naruto answered with a small smile and apologies. "You mean, I can finally sleep?" Gaara asked, almost like a little kid when he really wanted something, though that wasn't really surprising considering the boy never had a childhood. "Yes, that and much more. Your sand will be easier to control, you will have another perspective to give you advice at all times, and you can even learn to control your Biju's chakra, which will give you one hell of a power-up, even if he is the weakest in regard to the 9-tailed beasts. You can even set him free eventually, if you both wish it, that is." Naruto explained as he gauged the redhead's reaction. Wow, the boy sighed as he took in all of the possibilities. He could finally have friends and family without being afraid of losing control and killing them. Gaara looked straight at the blonde before him, truly taking in his appearance and stature. He might not look like it, but he was wise beyond his years. And the way he held himself told anyone who saw him that he meant business and that he was not to be tucked with. Though, even with all of that power and confidence, he held compassion in his eyes. Compassion that told of misery. Of loneliness. Of understanding. He knew exactly what the redhead had been through and knew precisely what he needed. Though, he knew that compassion was a dangerous emotion to have. Not only could you be betrayed and left to die by the ones you love, but someone else could come in and destroy that love. That love breeds hate and the need for revenge. Thus, starts the cycle of hatred. Though, with one look at the blonde, he could tell that knew all of this and yet had confidence in his abilities to prevent those situations. "So, now that you've had time to digest that, I would like to propose a proposition to you. If you decline or accept will not change how I treat you, nor will it determine if I finish what I've started with healing Shukaku." Seeing Gaara nod, the blonde continued. "I plan to gather all of the Biju and their Jinchuriki, to help them like I'm helping you, to give them solace from their oppression, as well as freedom to their Biju, should they so desire it. I would like you to join me." Gaara looked confused for a moment. Join him? Like join his village? He couldn't do that, he had family and Suna that he needed to reconcile with. Almost like reading his mind, Naruto put up a hand to stop Gaara's obvious rebuttal. "I am not asking you to switch villages. I am merely offering an alliance. Not between villages, but between the two of us and to the rest of the Jinchuriki once the time comes. We will be each other's brothers and sisters. We will be there for each other should any of us need the help. You can stay loyal to your village, but you will also be loyal to us. What do you say?" As he finished his explanation, Naruto offered his hand to shake to finalize their alliance. After thinking on it, Gaara realized that he had no reason not to accept. Not only would he get a family and friends, he would be with those like him. People who have been scorned and shunned because of what they possess. Not having to think about it any longer, Gaara looked up with determination and firmly shook the blonde's hand, causing both of them to smile. Just as they shook, a bright light blinded them, and before they knew it, they were no longer within the false world. Real world. 1 second later. Temari and Kankuro were speechless. 1 second their brother was getting his ass kicked by the QB Jinchuriki no less and was about to unleash the Ichibi way ahead of schedule, and the next second they were just standing there, the Biju chakra all but vanished, shaking hands like they were best buds. Gaara, seeing that he was in the real world again, turned to his siblings before giving them his first genuine smile in a very long time. That was not the only shocking thing to happen, as just as that happened, the boy fell into the blonde's arms, seemingly unconscious. Taking a step back, Temari and Kankuro were silently preparing for the Ichibi to suddenly spring from their brother's body and start wreaking havoc upon the forest. Though, after a few seconds of silence, they were surprised once again when they witnessed their brother silently sleeping with a small smile on his face, causing them to gasp in both shock and delight. "Well, I think this is yours," Naruto said as he hefted the red head onto Kankuro's back, the puppet user grunting slightly at the dead weight he now had to lug to the tower. "I guess I'll see you all in the finals. See ya." Wait. Turning back around, Naruto saw that the other blonde had watery eyes, though he could tell that she refused to let them fall and was looking like she was about to ask something. After a few seconds of debating, Temari just shook her head slightly before looking into his eyes with gratitude shining in her eyes. "I don't know what you did, but thank you. It's no problem, just helping a friend out." With that the blonde took his leave, sprinting to where he felt his clone. As he was running, Naruto spoke to his tenant, "Did you get enough?" "More than enough, but not enough for it to be noticeable. He will be able to regenerate what I took in about a month, so it's all good. Though, I do feel a little guilty about taking chakra from my sibling like that." Kurama responded as he locked the sandy brown colored chakra orb away in what looked like a large cage, where it just sat there in the middle of the room. "Don't worry about it, like you said, he will regenerate it in no time at all. And we only took enough so that it could replenish itself inside the secondary seals, but not enough to where we would have a whole new Shikaku on our hands. Besides, it can't hurt to have a little chakra from each of the Biju on hand in case of emergencies." Naruto replied, easing his tenant's worries enough for him to be content. That is, until he arrived at the hollowed out tree where his clone was. He was surprised to see both of his teammates on their backs, unconscious, with various wounds being dressed by his clone. "What happened?" Naruto asked in a deadly voice as he witnessed his friend and teammate in such a state. The uchiha he couldn't care less about. The clone only dispersed in response, sending his memories of the fight back to the original. Naruto snarled when he thought back on the fight. On one hand, Yuki unlocked her bloodline, and damn was it powerful. Though, on the other hand, Orochimaru attacked and incapacitated his friend, as well as giving the uchiha his cursed mark. Taking a deep breath, Naruto approached Yuki's form and began to heal her with his medical techniques. She was fully healed within a few minutes, but she still needed a rest to fill her reserves again. It was then that someone else decided to tuck with his day. "Look, only one of them is still conscious. Tells you all you need to know about how weak Konoha is." A voice taunted, causing two others to snicker. The boy who spoke was a genin from a Togakur and had bandages wrapped around the entirety of his body, save his left eye, making him resemble a mummy. He wore a kimono shirt with the sleeves elongated to cover his hands. He also had on a scarf with camouflage designs on it and a big piece of fur on his back resembling a porcupine. The other boy in his squad had a dark yellow shirt on with writing on it, as well as a long-sleeved undershirt that covered his forearms. He had spiky black hair that was held back by a metal faceplate that framed the boy's face and held his village symbol. The last member and only girl in the squad had long black hair that went down to her butt with a scarf much like the first boy. She also wore a dark green vest that covered her undershirt, which held the same design as her scarf. "You're right, Dosu. Though, after fighting Orochimaru-sama, they're lucky to be alive." The spiky-haired boy sneered. "Whatever, let's just get this over with." The girl interrupted as they started walking towards the lone boy. They halted in their advance when the blonde shot them a look that shouted, "You so do not want to do this. Leave now and I won't kill you." Naruto warned as he exuded an overwhelming aura over the enemy squad, causing them to take an involuntary step back before they gathered whatever courage or stupidity they had and drew their chosen weapons. Dosu rolled up his sleeves to show a metal device on his forearm with holes in the outer part of it. Zaku held his hands up with his palms facing the hollow tree, showing off the metal tubes in his palms. Kin, on the other hand, just took out some senbon with bells attached to the ends. "So, you have chosen death. Fine, then I will show you no mercy." With this declaration, Naruto stood up, with his back to them, before suddenly a sheath appeared on his waist with a western-style hilt instead of the traditional katana hilt. Slowly, the blonde reached down to the hilt, causing the suspense and anxiety in the enemy to rise with each passing second. Then, as soon as his hand grasped the crisp leather of his sword, the world seemed to freeze. Not like when he actually froze time, time still continued as normal. It just felt like it to the sound genin as the sounds of the forest halted altogether. Just then, Naruto drew his sword and the world came to life again, though maybe not in the way the sound genin would have liked. As soon as the tip of the blade exited the sheath, a shockwave of energy that shook the very earth shot the trio away from him. When they finally got back up, the trio were shocked to see their enemy in a completely different attire. Naruto turned to face his opponents, wearing a long black robe with X crossing his chest and red accents along the edges. The collar covered the sides and back of his neck and had a couple of red lines to match the robe. The sleeves of the robe transferred into gloves that covered his hands with more X detailing them. It's Ichigo's Fullbring Bankai outfit but with red accents instead of white. Even Dan's leaf had changed. Instead of her normal form, she was now a long dual-ended scythe with one blade being blood red with golden highlights and an emerald green gem with what looked like a slit pupil splitting it down the middle at the base of the blade. On the other end was the complete opposite. The blade was white as snow with ice blue highlights and a dark blue gem with the same puppy-like design sitting at the base. The blades were facing opposite directions so that it could be used very fluidly from one attack to the next. The long handle connecting the two blades was pitch black with gold, linear lines meeting in the middle of the handle. Looks like those lines often associated with technology and computers. Who's first? He asked with apathy, spinning the deadly weapon around his body slowly, menacingly. Zaku, being the ever-excitable one, immediately rushed at the blonde, killing intent shining in his eyes at the dismissive attitude of his opponent. Once he was close enough, the sound genin raised his hands once again before launching a great gust of wind out of each of the tubes while shouting, decapitating airwaves. Naruto watched as the slicing winds approached him with a slight glare of annoyance, showing just how little he thought about the new threats. Not moving from his spot, Naruto was hit straight on with a usually devastating attack, causing the sound team's arrogance to rise once again, thinking the blonde was taken out by one attack. HMPH, all that bark and no bite. Zaku sneered as he dropped his hands back to his sides. That turned out to be the wrong thing to do as an unscathed Naruto suddenly appeared in front of the boy with his scythe raised, bringing it down at an angle and completely slicing off the boy's left arm like a hot knife through butter. Seeing as how the genin was stunned at the sudden loss of a limb, Naruto took the opportunity to kick the boy in the chest, sending him back with such a force that he broke through multiple trees before coming to a stop when he became impaled on a tree limb that went straight through his stomach. The branch had most likely been broken off sometime in the past, making it sharp and jagged at the end. He wasn't dead, but he would soon bleed out from both injuries, especially his arm wound, seeing as how that one couldn't be healed by normal means due to Dan's leaf's unique ability to stop any and all healing attempts. Seeing as how one of his opponents was down for the count, Naruto turned just in time to dodge a right hook thrown by the mummy boy with a metal gauntlet. Although he couldn't see it, Naruto could tell that his opponent was smirking under his bandages, and now he knew why. The boy had sent out a highly concentrated blast of sound waves out of his gauntlet and directly into his eardrums, most likely rupturing them with his attack. What the mummy boy wasn't expecting was Naruto to use his backwards momentum from dodging to flip back onto his hands while kicking the genin in the chin, sending him into the air, where he could only wait for the punishment to come. Naruto was about to get rid of another opponent when a couple of senbon were launched his way, causing him to jump back a bit to avoid them. Turning his head to his last opponent, he noticed that, like the others, she had an arrogant smirk on her face and strings wrapped around her fingers that were attached to the bells on the senbon. He could feel a genjutsu try and take over his senses, but it was so weak that he literally didn't have to do anything before it broke. He froze anyway, wanting to play with his food a bit longer. Zaku was an idiot for dying to a piece of trash like this. He couldn't even repel a simple genjutsu. Kin laughed as she walked forward, intent on slashing his throat with another senbon. When she was right in front of him and about to slit his throat, Naruto grabbed her throat with his left hand before raising her up so that her feet no longer touched the ground. The blonde looked past the girl in his hand to the last member of the sound team and locked eyes with him as he quickly flexed his hand, snapping Kin's neck like it was a twig before dropping her to the ground in front of him. Dosu was terrified. They were just sent here to test the uchiha and his new curse mark, not fight this absolute monster of a man. He went through them like they were wet tissue paper. Seeing his only option, Dosu put his heaven scroll on the ground and put his hands up in surrender. "I'm sorry, you can have our scroll. Just let me leave with my life." Naruto looked to be at least considering the offer before a dark malevolent aura enveloped the clearing, drawing both boys' attention to the hollowed tree. There stood Sasuke Uchiha with his almost matured Sharingan activated, looking like he had lost his mind. He had black marks covering a fraction of his body that looked like they were glowing orange as they moved across his body. "Haha, I now have the power I need to kill both you and Itachi. But first, I'll take it for a little test run." Sasuke yelled enthusiastically with an insane gleam in his eyes as he launched himself towards the lone sound genin. The victim didn't have enough time to prepare for battle before the Uchiha was upon him, throwing him around like he was a ragdoll, before finally slamming him into a tree and burning him to a crisp. That kid really has some major damage in the head. At least when you kill you have a legitimate purpose for it. He's just doing what Itachi said he was doing, testing his own abilities. Oh, the irony. Dan's leaf spoke from her place in his hand. Yeah, he's demented. And that's coming from the guy with an actual demon in his gut. I should just kill him now and be done with it. I could just pass it off as one of the other contestants doing. Naruto replied as he readied his sword-turned scythe against his unsavory teammate. Seeing as how his opponent was dead, Sasuke laughed before turning to the man who he loathed maybe even more so than Itachi himself. You have seen what I am capable of. Now, I will make you bow to me. The demented boy smirked as he rushed at the blonde with no hesitation. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he watched the boy approach him, seemingly in slow motion. He spun Dan's leaf once again in anticipation for what he needed to do. It's not that he didn't want to do it, no, he'd enjoy it very much. He had just wanted to humiliate him in front of everyone during the last test. Oh well. Just as they were about to clash, a bright light blinded everyone and caused the two boys to halt in their advances. Just then, an overwhelming aura surrounded the clearing, forcing everyone to their knees, besides Naruto that is, though only barely. And that fact alone is something that should be marveled at. Though the source of the aura remained unseen, Naruto could definitely feel the loathing directed at everyone here, especially himself. The light continued to grow in intensity until finally, something rocketed out of the epicenter straight at Naruto at speeds that even he couldn't react to. His vision went dark before he could even comprehend his time freeze. Everyone in the trees around the clearing, which included teams 8, 9, and 10 who were watching the whole affair with bated breath, looked on in shock as the kid who could probably fish smack their Hokage was knocked out with one attack. They didn't exactly know what it was that caused him to pass out, only that there was a bright light that appeared, halting the impending battle, only for it to go out, showing both fighters unconscious on the ground. They were all too shocked to speak for a few minutes as they processed what just happened. Their former classmate and comrade had just defeated a full team of experienced sound genin by himself without breaking a sweat and then just got knocked out by a light of all things. This shit just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Was the elegant comment made by Kiba, and while it was blunt, everyone couldn't help but agree. Mindscape. Naruto watched a giant fox in his stomach trample forest after forest and destroy mountain after mountain in anger. What the hell was that? The blonde yelled out, gaining the fox's attention and causing him to growl and turn to the blonde. That damned man can't let me be happy for 2 goddamn seconds. Kurama yelled as he smashed one more mountain for good measure. Now, I'm sorry, Naruto, I probably should have told you earlier, but I have what you would call a mortal enemy who has ruined my life on multiple occasions and is the worst of the worst. And he is the one who attacked me. Must be one hell of an enemy if he knocked me out in one tucking punch. Just who the hell is this guy? Naruto yelled, getting madder knowing that his tenant knew about the guy who could injure him. Kurama snarled as he recalled the man's face and that damn smug smile he always wore. That man took everything away from me a long while ago. I used to have a family, you know. I had a beautiful mate that was perfect in every single way, named Inari. It was her who gave me my son, Zenko. She was pregnant with my next child when it all happened. Kurama paused as he took a deep breath, collecting himself so that he could recount what had happened. Naruto, meanwhile, was shocked out of his rage. He didn't know that his friend had a family or a completely other life outside of being part of the Jubi. Inari was sick during the pregnancy, endangering both herself and the child. As a last-ditch effort, I approached Kami and asked no, begged him to save her and take away her ailment. He looked me dead in the eye, and what did he do? He laughed in my face and told me to go bug someone else with my measly troubles. In my anger, I committed a very serious crime that caused me to be imprisoned in a heavenly prison, meant to hold unruly gods. Seeing that Kurama was stopping for a second, Naruto took this time to ask a question. What was the crime? The fox seemed to smile a little, seemingly replaying what he did in his head. I committed heavenly treason by stealing a bit of Kami's power. I took it so that I could heal my love, but it came at a very steep price. While I was able to save her and my unborn child, I was thrown in prison for what was supposed to be forever. After a few years, a portal appeared in my cell. Not knowing what it was, I entered it and found myself at my old den, where we raised our son and were going to raise our next child. It looked fine, so I didn't question it. It wasn't until I went inside that I knew why I was brought there. Naruto knew where this was going, and he clenched his fists and ground his teeth together. While he never had a family before his deal, he knew that his pain couldn't compare to the emotional wreckage seeing the dead bodies of your family would do to a person. Kami had entered my home and killed everyone. He showed no mercy as he took the lives of my family. He even wrote on the walls in their blood, saying give it back to me. He had killed my family and my unborn child because I took what I needed to save them. He had opened a portal for me just to see what he did. I guess he didn't expect me to escape before I was recaptured. Kurama was openly crying at this point while putting his clenched fist against the ground, trying to support his shaking body. "I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what that must be like." Naruto was at a loss for words as he clenched his teeth and fists in anger at what the supposed benevolent god had done to his friend. "But why didn't he just take his power back from you?" Naruto asked in confusion as he realized that. "Because then he would be committing the same act of treason I had done. He tried to get it overturned in the celestial court many times, but the law remains. And as I had taken some of his power, I was technically considered a half-god, so the law applied to me. And before you ask, no, you cannot bring them back with your power. Only someone of Kami's stature can do so and he wouldn't do it even if I did give him his power back." Kurama explained before interrupting Naruto's train of thought like he could read the blonde's mind. Naruto looked down at not being able to help his friend. It was at this point that he felt truly powerless. Ever since he got this power, he had felt nothing but unstoppable. Now, even with all of his power, he couldn't do anything. "Hey!" Kurama called out, shaking his host from his self-depreciation. Even with all of his power, he cannot break the rules of the celestial realm. One of which is that no god can directly interact with the mortal realm, needing to use a vassal to impart their will upon the world. So how was he able to hurt me?" Naruto asked as he started forming plans in his head for when he would inevitably fight the demented god. Kami was most likely influencing a temporary vassal which he could use most of his power, though the body would disintegrate immediately, hence why they are temporary. Kurama explained, knowing that Kami didn't care if he killed any humans, even if it did not affect him in the slightest. So, he needs another, more permanent vassal before he can truly be a threat. And there's no way we can stop him from doing that, is there? Naruto asked, not really expecting a positive answer. "Well, actually, I think I have a theory about that. I don't see why he would intervene when you were going to kill the Uchiha, unless he wanted to use him for something." Kurama thought out loud. "You think he wants to use Sasuke as his vassal? Why? To spite me?" The blonde asked as he honestly couldn't think of any other reason. There were certainly more powerful people out there. Hell, there were academy students with more potential than Sasuke, and he had the Sharingan, for Christ's sake. "I do, you see, Kami would do anything in his power to tuck me over and, in addition, you and if it means using someone weaker for it, he would be all for it if it means it makes you even a little peeved. So, I think he will train the Uchiha brat to eventually fight you to the death, where he will lock me up once again, that is, unless you can win." The fox looked down at the boy with a small smirk. "I mean, I'm all for trying, but if he's being trained by the king of gods, can't Kami just give him all of my powers, and then some?" Naruto pointed out incredulously. "Ha! That's where you're wrong." Kurama exclaimed, momentarily forgetting his sadness for a second. "You see, a god's power is split into sections, much like how your chakra is split into spiritual and physical. What makes Kami so mad is that I took the part of his power that allowed him to grant miracles, and while he never really liked the mortal realm, that was one of the very few powers that he had that could directly interact with said realm. That's how I was able to heal my love as well as grant your newfound abilities. That means that while Kami can enhance Sasuke's earthly abilities, he cannot grant him anything not of this world. We also have the advantage of knowing this world inside and out. Kami on the other hand, never really paid attention to your world as it was uninteresting to him, choosing to sleep or lay with one of his many concubines." Naruto smiled a bit at the blow to the arrogant god. "Okay then, we will need to up our training regimen and preparation. As well as everyone else's training so that they can help when we take down the bastard." The two friends bumped fists, knowing that they were both closer now that they had shared such a moment with each other. Naruto also had a plan in mind that would hopefully bring happiness to his friend, but it would be risky and very, very difficult to pull off. Later at the tower. Naruto woke up from his slumber to see a pure white room around him that kind of looked like a hospital room, with a large metal door on the wall to his left and a window to his right that showed a section of the forest of death. The blonde immediately knew something was wrong when he tried to raise his hand to his head to try and sate this headache he had due to the less than pleasant sleep he had. The key word there being tried is when he lifted his hand, it was stopped by the metal clanking of handcuffs. Those fools really tried to lock me up using handcuffs. They think just because they are chakra suppressing that I wouldn't be able to get out. Tucking idiots. Naruto thought as he flexed his arms a bit and snapped the chains like they were nothing. This of course caused a couple of Anbu to burst into the room with their weapons drawn in order to stop any type of hostility. "Naruto Uzumaki. You are to be taken to the Hokage's office in the tower to be questioned about the mysterious presence in the second exam. Would you come quietly?" The lead Anbu asked as she pointed her sword at his throat, apparently being warned about his less than cooperating attitude when it came to Anbu and the Hokage in general. Naruto snarled a bit as he was really not in the mood for all of this shit right now, not after learning all about his friend's past. Put your tucking weapons away before I end your careers as shinobi. His tone sent shivers down the Anbu's backs as they faltered for a moment before lowering their weapons, but kept them in hand, should the blonde pull anything. The dogs, now, leave me so that I may get changed. I will see the damned monkey in a few minutes. Naruto commanded, leaving no room for opposition. Once the last of the Anbu had left, Naruto quickly changed into a spare set of clothes he kept in a seal on his arm, which was almost identical to his usual one, besides the button-up shirt was dark blue instead of red this time. Creating a clone, Naruto gave it his dirty clothes and gave it a message to give to everyone at home. Seeing as how he had nothing left to do, the blonde powerhouse left his room and walked to the Hokage's secondary office, only used when the Chunin exams had a trial in the forest. When he arrived, Naruto noticed that the room was set up almost identically to the council meeting room in the Hokage tower, with the civilian council on the right and the shinobi council on the left, with the Hokage at the end in the middle. "What do you want?" Naruto asked as he stood up straight with a look about him that screamed power, unlike his usual bored attitude. "Watch your mouth, you insolent," a civilian council member shouted before he was silenced with a tanto at his neck, just barely a millimeter away from puncturing skin. "I did not come here to beat around the bush or be bad-mouthed by some weaklings with nothing going for them, besides a meager amount of money. Tell me why I'm here or I'll leave because I have better things to be doing than listening to you people whine about your precious exams being interrupted." Naruto snapped, pushing the sword closer to the man's neck, just nicking him with the blade. Everyone was silenced by the boy's exclamation. He was always just disrespectful in a bored out of his mind kind of way in the past, but now he was very hostile and wanted nothing more than to just blow up the room and be done with them all. "Naruto," the Hokage spoke up, trying to calm the boy. "We just wanted your account on what happened last night. Apparently Orochimaru appeared and gave Sasuke a cursed mark while you were off somewhere else doing kami knows what. Then when you finally make it back to your team, some unknown presence appears and knocks both you and Sasuke unconscious. We want to know why you left your team and if you can, identify the presence." Naruto scowled at the mention of kami, but answered nonetheless. "I left my team because I was going to go get the scroll we needed and meet them at the tower. Orochimaru appeared and apparently took out my teammates with relative ease and applied the curse mark to the uchiha. When I got back, they were both knocked out so I moved them into a hollowed out tree so that they would be safe until they woke up. I then had to deal with the team from Sound who were sent by Orochimaru to test Sasuke's new power-up. When I had defeated them, Sasuke woke up with the curse mark activated and attacked me. We were about to clash when a bright light appeared and caused everyone to look away lest be blinded, accompanied by the strange aura. Just as it was reaching its peak brightness, something knocked me and the uchiha out. Obviously, you've already spoken to other people about this and I was unconscious during the time, so I really don't know why you are even bothering me with this." Everyone took in the information silently, wondering what to do now. "Okay, now you're just wasting my damn time. See ya, die in a fire, and don't bother me again," Naruto said as he left the room with a scowl. He didn't make it 5 steps out of the room before he was shouted at by a very pissed off Kakashi. "You damn demon. You know just what that presence was and you just let Orochimaru do that to Sasuke. You were probably colluding with the snake the entire time, weren't you? Leave me alone, hot Aki. I am so not in the mood for your bullshit right now." Naruto walked past him with a snarl, silently observing the bandages around the man's hands, enraging the Jonin even more. "You don't talk that way to me, you brat. You think I won't hurt those you loathe?" The man didn't get to finish his sentence before he was slammed into the wall with Naruto's hand on his throat. "Even if you had the power to lay a finger on any of them, you wouldn't make it 2 steps on the property before I severed your head from your body. And don't think for a second that I don't know what you tried to do while I was unconscious," Naruto whispered as he gestured to the man's hands. "You know, trying to kill or steal from a genin of your own village, one that is under your own care and is the heir of multiple clans, is punishable by life in prison or death, right?" With that, Naruto slammed the silver-haired man into the wall once more for good measure before dropping him and walking away. Snarling in rage, Kakashi pulled out a kunai and rushed at the blonde's back, killing intent shining in his eyes with his Sharingan eye out for the world to see. "That's it, no more Mr. Nice Guy," Naruto thought as he narrowed his eyes while moving his head to the left to avoid the sharp weapon, before palm thrusting his hand into Kakashi's chest, sending the Jonin back a few feet as he tried to regain his breath. Naruto wasn't done, though, as he rushed the silver-haired man, Tensagan blazing as he stuck 2 fingers out on each hand. 8 trigrams. 2 palms. Naruto shouted as he shut off 2 tenketsu in Kakashi's body before continuing. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. 64 palms. But the final hit, Kakashi was sent flying back, where he lay still for a few seconds before standing up shakily. "You think I would be taken down by one jutsu? I've fought many Hyuga before and I've seen that attack at least once before. Kakashi asked, trying to laugh as he coughed up blood. What you so arrogantly missed was that I just killed you, you jackass. It was at that moment that tiny seals appeared on the ends of Naruto's fingers. I just sealed each and every one of your chakra points, taking away your ability to use chakra. Kakashi's eyes went wide at that. That means I won't have any of my jutsu. As if reading his mind, Naruto gave a slight hollow chuckle before walking towards the crippled man. That's not even the best part. You see, if a normal uchiha had been cut off from their chakra, their Sharingan would simply deactivate until such a time as they could activate them again. What makes this so good is that, because you have an implanted Sharingan, it cannot be deactivated. This means that it will continue to eat away at anything it can get its hands on to keep it powered. At this declaration, Kakashi suddenly felt an immense amount of pain all throughout his body, though most it was centered around his eye. Your greatest tool will now become your undoing, you arrogant fool. Naruto laughed coolly as he watched Kakashi writhe on the floor as he scratched at his eye, seemingly trying to tear it out of its socket. Finally getting a hold of it, Kakashi screamed in even more pain as he tore his own eyeball out of its socket, effectively stopping the drain on his life force. That would have been a clever idea if you were not about to die from blood loss. Naruto commented amusedly. Kakashi was panicking. He didn't have the time nor strength to find a medic and he couldn't put the eye back in his head, lest he die from that as well. His only chance of survival was to crawl to the Hokage's office and hopefully someone could help him. And so he crawled, careful not to crush his precious eye as he went, and was about a foot away from being able to reach the door when a black boot came down on his unoccupied hand, stopping him in his tracks. No, you chose to walk this path, you don't get a lifeline just because you regret it now. You will die here and now, under my foot like the insect you are. Then, once Naruto was sure that the Jonin didn't have any strength to even blink, he bent down and whispered in his ear very quietly, making the entire scene all the creepier. And, once you're dead, I'm going to take that eye you like so much, and I'm going to do whatever the tuck I want with it. But that final sentence, Naruto used his human path to rip the soul out of the writhing man, timing it perfectly so that Kakashi would still feel as much pain as possible before departing from the land of the living. Now he had extensive knowledge on over 1,000 jutsu, as well as the Sharingan technique of his new eye. That felt good. Now, I'll take this. Naruto thought to himself as he picked up Obito's eye and sealed it away in a special preservation seal made to hold body parts, usually when he killed a missing nin and wanted to get the bounty reward. But that debacle dealt with, Naruto created a few clones to pick up this mess before walking down to where he felt Yuki's chakra signature. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.